I felt like I didn't belong until I found my inner truth. Hi, my name is Mei, and I am your host of this podcast. I want to invite you on this spiritual journey to find love, acceptance, inner truth, and a sense of belonging, in spite of a multicultural background. Let's get together and overcome our issues with labels and stop trying to fit in boxes that were not made for us. Let's stop looking at what makes us different and see what brings us together without losing our authenticity. If you like the podcast, please give it a 5-star rating. This will give more people the opportunity to find us, or share it with someone who will benefit of it. In today's episode, we're going to talk about why owning your emotions devictimizes and helps to empower you. So excited to share this with you. Have fun with today's episode. Servus everybody, and hello to this new episode. Right now I'm just traveling again. I like talking to you guys when I drive in my car because it helps me keep my thoughts straight. I wanted to share with you one thing that is very important on the path to finding more inner truth or becoming more yourself, to come into your own power, into your own strength. And it came to me that actually the English language has a very, very beautiful word or word combination that describes what is that we have to do to come closer to our inner truth. Because a lot of times we tend to victimize ourselves, to make ourselves victims of the circumstances that we have, of the situations that surround us, of basically of everything, of the emotions that we have, of the people around us, of everything. And some of you know that I was just recently in Hawaii, and spending time there made me we talked a lot about emotional things and stuff. And I remember in one conversation somehow the sentence came up, hey, you have to own it, and I think that is such an empowering 2 words. I mean, just the own it part, and depending on where you put it in a sentence is more. But what I mean is, I think where I'm trying to get, to know, to take everything you do, whatever it is, any emotion, if it's good or bad, if it's a mistake you made, or even a happy moment, allow yourself to own it. Put yourself into the position that you're owning this. Whatever mistake you made, it's yours. You made it. Whatever good feeling you have, it's yours. Whatever emotion you have, it's yours. Own it, Like really step into your own power. And that's being really honest with yourself, because the moment you start being more honest with yourself and really bringing your whole being into making it your own, I feel that just by saying it, own it, it just is, there's so much power in those 2 words. But just to give you an example, allowing yourself, no matter what, let's say you have had a bad relationship with one of your colleagues at work, and instead of making yourself a victim of that person at work that is treating you in a not so nice way, own it that it's yours. It's you who has those feelings, has those bad emotions. And in the moment that you own it, it also gives you the perspective of actually you being the one that is sending something out. You're sending something out into the universe, so that the universe answers and replies to you with a colleague that is treating you bad. So whatever you are doing, it's not that you're a victim of that situation. It's actually you are the one sending the vibes out so that you receive those things back to you. So you see what I mean? But in the moment that you own it and that you allow yourself to say, hey, okay, so it's not my colleague's fault. Well, maybe, yeah, it could be that it's not a nice person, but that's their thing to take care of. But for you, on your side of this whole thing, you have to find out, why is this colleague making you feel that way? You know, because when you own it, it's yours. And in that moment, it empowers you in such an amazing way. And I'd like to give you an example, because some of you may know that I used to be a corporate lady. I used to work in a corporate company. I used to be the personal assistant of some of the bosses in that company. And I remember having a situation where one of my colleagues was so desperate because she needed help with something, and she wanted me to take care of some things. And well, the thing is that I couldn't. Technically, I just couldn't. And it came to one point, I mean, I was annoyed because I couldn't help her technically, and she wouldn't understand, and she was annoyed because she didn't get the help that she wanted. So it got to the conversation started to heat up a little bit, and it got that bad that it ended with my colleague telling me, why do we even have you if you can't help me? And I think everybody, if you tell them that you have received a sentence like that by a colleague at work, it's really harsh and it's really hard. It's like, hey, why do you even exist in this company if you can't help me, right? And so yes, the first moment I had to like really take a deep breath, and was thinking, dude, this was really not nice. But at the same time, I started practicing this owning of things, and started to reflect right away to see what could be wrong. And it was so amazing because very quickly, I mean, this is like, I'm talking about minutes after I hung up with that colleague, after I took a deep breath, I started realizing, man, I don't even know what I'm doing in this company anymore. Because I had already started to feel like I didn't belong anymore. Like I didn't even know what the reasons were why I was in this company. Like what good was I doing there? Like I had no, it was like I had lost the reason. Like before I sort of was the personal assistant to someone, and there it had gotten to a point where I didn't see any meaning in my work anymore. So if I couldn't see the meaning in my work, how could I expect my colleagues and the people working with me to see any meaning in what I was doing? And that was so amazing. That was one of the first moments where I actually realized what it means to really own something, because in that moment I owned up to this situation where I was in. I admitted to myself, I was 100% honest with myself, and I was 100% there in that moment, and looked for my own reasons what was what was happening there, and then I just realized it, and then I just had to. If you own something like that, it's also easier to let go, because then I knew, okay, if I have to be, if I don't have meaning in this job, I have to find meaning for myself, so what can I do to change that? So I actually started to change that. I really went through the whole process for myself to look at that. But if I wouldn't be owning that, I would still be a victim. I would have probably felt really bad about it. I would probably have talked to my boss about it, about how I'm being treated, and we probably would have opened up a huge fuss. Maybe we would have even gotten into discussions, and maybe I would have talked to HR. You know how those things can actually, snowball into a whole avalanches of things, right? But I didn't want that to happen. And the weird thing is, this topic never ever came up again with my colleague. She never ever asked anything of me. I, for myself, tried to I have to admit, it wasn't easy, but I found a way to give myself reasons to be there at that job for that moment. And it's so amazing because also, on the other hand, that's why I realized, for me, it was a little bit like the universe testing me, because it didn't take much longer after the situation that I was able to leave that job and continue into a different, or how do you say, transition into a different way of life that I'm having right now, that is more adapt to who my true self is, you know. But that's why I wanted to share this with you, because owning it is so important. It's so important to be honest with yourself, and also step into that, how do you call that, into that responsibility of whatever's happening in your life. You know, there was a little practice that some people taught. I don't remember if I read it in a book or somewhere, but I thought it was so amazing, and I want to give this one to you. You can either use it as a how do you say, like homework, or whatever it feels best for you. But I thought it was amazing, and it helps you maybe understand this part a little bit better, and the owning part a little bit better. And it's basically, if I when you go through the day, allow yourself to, whatever situation happens throughout the day, imagine that you gave permission for that. So really, whatever happens to you during the day, if it is someone smiling at you, hey, you gave permission for that. If it is someone, being silent with you, hey, you gave permission to that person so that they can be silent with you, because maybe you needed silence. Or if there's too much noise around you, allow yourself to say, hey, I gave permission to everybody to be noisy, because today my inside is so, all over the place, that I wanted to see this manifest as loud people around me. And also, maybe if someone really reacts in a bad way, like sometimes you have the grumpy people that really maybe even treat you bad, like tell you something bad to your face, or, cut your line or whatever. There's so many ways, you know what I mean. But whatever happens throughout the day, whenever something happens, just go into empower yourself and tell yourself, yes, I allowed this to happen. I gave permission for this person to treat me this way. I wanted this to happen, And the more you do that, and please, if you can, send me a comment on wherever you're listening to this episode. Send me a comment on this, because I want to know, how did it go for you? Because, like I said, this is really a very important part in starting to own your own, owning everything you do, everything that happens to you, because in that moment you can actually make a change. So yeah, I know it's a little, for some people, I know it's a little bit harder to grasp, but I just want you to give it a practice, give it a go for your day to day. Like I said, you don't have to believe everything, but just give it a try, and then if it doesn't work for you, it's okay. You can change it for yourself, or you can maybe change the whole thing up for yourself, in a way, whatever helps you best. But for now, maybe give it a chance and give it a go, maybe 1 or 2 days, and see how that feels for you, and see how owning it makes it feel for you. With these words, I wish you a great week. Have a good time. Be good. Be the change you want to see in the world. And yeah, come home to your true self. Servus.